So basically, the government has granted an emergency order for data centers to tie into the main electrical grid across most of the Midwest and the coasts. And they've also, in that emergency order, granted them to run diesel generators 24 hours a day. With us having a diesel shortage already, because we're not getting any fuel in from the war, that means that they are digging into the supply that is already dwindling. So yes, 8 to 12 weeks, if nothing else changes, we most likely run out of diesel. Or at least the oil is needed to create it. There's more to this, but obviously I gotta get back to work. My break's up, so I will see you guys soon. I would not freak out about this. I'd just start learning how to grow your own food, if anything. Kind of like we do. Problem is it's not grown yet.
You can see it's in the high 58s, 59s to 60s.
So you mean to tell me that in Utah, they're restricting water supply to homesteaders that literally live off their land. They have to water their crops. They need water for, showers and cooking and everything else. They need water for their animals, and they're limiting their water supply. But in the same state, they just approved a 40,000 acre AI data center by Kevin O'Leary in the same state that they're limiting water supply to people that are growing their own crops. And then now, guess what else? Palantir and USDA just partnered for $300 million for a contract so they can control the food. They can make sure that the food is okay.
You might have noticed your electricity bill creeping up lately, even when your habits haven't changed. Or maybe you've heard about local water restrictions while a massive industrial project breaks ground just down the road. Across the country, giant data centers are being quietly built in working-class neighborhoods and rural towns. They require millions of gallons of clean water and immense amounts of energy to fuel the new artificial intelligence boom. Curiously, these facilities are never placed near wealthy, gated communities. Instead, everyday Americans are forced to shoulder the costs through higher utility bills, eminent domain, and drained natural resources. Let's look at what people are actually dealing with on the ground.
The data centers are coming whether you like them or not. I was listening to a podcast. There was a lady, she retired, moved out to the boonies, and got 30 acres of land. She's been living there. Data center company contacted her. They were willing to give her $400,000 per acre of land. $400,000, and that was on the low end. There was another guy offered $700,000 per acre of land. Right? They sold. They will find somewhere else to live. $400,000 times 30 acres of land, that's $12 million. More money than she's probably ever made in her life. Yeah.
You ever notice they never build data centers where rich people live? And that should tell you everything that you need to know. Because if data centers were so amazing and quiet and safe for the environment, rich people would be fighting to get them in their neighborhoods. But they're not. Now, America already had about 4,000 data centers. And at the end of 2025, they were already either planning, in the process of constructing an additional 3,000 data centers. But funny how they're not popping up next to gated communities, golf courses, waterfront mansions. No, they show up near regular people. Because see, data centers bring noise. They use massive amounts of water. And they drive up electricity costs. And so while they're building all these data centers in your backyard, they're also replacing jobs with automation powered by those data centers. So the next time a local official comes to you talking about a data center, ask them one simple question. If it's so great, why aren't rich people volunteering for it to be next to them?
Do you hear that noise in the background? That's the sound of a hyperscale data center here in Dowagiac, Michigan. I'm Emma Brott with 16 News Now. Now today I've been talking to residents who are telling me just how loud this place is. Right now there's a class action lawsuit alleging that these loud noises are affecting 1,300 residents within a 1-mile radius of this hyperscale data center. A resident living just across the street from this data center tells me he's bought a decibel reader just to see how loud it is on an average day.
Right there, it's going between 61 and
An alarming pattern has emerged thanks to Aaron Brockovich mapping out the location of data centers. The clear pattern being that these data centers are being built in areas suffering from major droughts. Before, her map consists of 33 data centers that are operational, 44 under construction, 27 more proposed facilities. With growing concerns of energy consumption, noise, waste, water usage, the more data centers added to the map, the more this pattern is hard to ignore. A medium to large data center consuming up to 5 million gallons a day, which is the equivalent of having about 10 to 50,000 people using water in one town. Water primarily being used to cool the servers. Why is data centers being put in areas already being hit by drought alarming? We'll take Fayette County, Georgia, for example. Data center in Fayette County having secretly sucked down 30 million gallons of water. And we're not talking about the water this data center was expected to use. This was nearly 30 million gallons of water extra that not just residents didn't know about. Fayette County's own water authority had no idea the data center had been using the water. How much water is 30 million gallons of water? Approximately 44 Olympic-sized pools worth of water. No one knew it was happening until residents started complaining about not having water pressure. Come to find out, this data center had multiple lines connected to the water supply that no one knew about. Meaning not only were they using a ton of water, they weren't even paying for it. So is Fayette County one of these areas not dealing with a drought? Not even close. Not only was Fayette County to be found to have 30 million gallons of water used by the data center no one knew about, this area is suffering from the highest level drought you can have. Experts describing it as the worst dry spell in nearly 20 years. Kind of drought where people who live in this area of Georgia have to deal with a year-round water schedule, where if they're caught using water outside of their scheduled times, they could not only be fined, but they potentially could have their water disconnected. Did Fayette County's data center lose their water? Nope. Not only causing alarm, but adding to the ever-growing uneasiness with the ever-growing amount of data centers in the US.
So Georgia's just going to be one big data center. You guys, that is not one data center. That number right there is how many are right here. Also, I just found out that data centers don't even have to legally report how much water they use. Just when you think it can't get any worse, Georgia Power is taking people's property and homes through eminent domain to expand their high voltage power lines to support these data centers. Now, the lovely interns at Science for Georgia have made some interactive maps. The black spots are current data centers. The orange ones are ones that are coming. Look at the numbers just in this area. So these are the current operational estimates for water usage in Georgia. Now, why is this an estimate? Oh yeah, that's right, because they don't legally have to report how much water they're using. However, Senator Durbin out of Illinois has proposed this Water and Energy Transparency Act. The data centers would need to report their energy and water use, and this was just introduced in March. But then I was like, aren't they paying for water by the gallon? They are, and in fact, usually at a much lower rate than you and I. They negotiate rates. Google, for example, paid $6.08 per 1,000 gallons, whereas the locals were paying $10.80 for 1,000 gallons. But just because they're paying for it doesn't mean they have to report it. Now, Project Sail, the 829-acre data center that is coming to Coweta County, Georgia, Georgia Power is set to demolish 2230 homes because they need to expand the power lines. And they are doing this through eminent domain, which is the government's right to take your property if they need it for public use. And in this case, Georgia Power is a public use company. Now, they have to give these people fair market value for their homes and properties. From what I've heard, Georgia Power is not trying to do that.
They're planning on building 54 data centers in California. Did you know that cows can no longer give birth to calves when they live near a data center, and they give a lot of stillbirths? Did you know that it destroys the drinking water? Which would you rather have, water or ChatGPT? 54 data centers, and everywhere they are going up. We need to start being radically against AI. And I think it's unethical, and people will be embarrassed that it was ever something that they used, that it was ever on their resume. People will start to realize that they are on the wrong side of history, embracing AI and looking to it as the future of business, a way to make money quickly, to streamline things, to make things go faster. Whatever it is you're using it for, it's unethical. And these data centers are proof of that. They will destroy the future of humanity if we let them. Okay, I'm trying to be as real with you as possible because 54 data centers going up in California alone, I mean, what is that going to do to children, to babies? How will the birds live? How will the flowers open up in the morning? How will we eat? How will we drink? How will we live? If the electromagnetic frequency from data centers destroys the circadian rhythm of the human body, destroys the natural flow of everything Mother Nature intends, then how do we set the electromagnetic frequencies right again? Do we just get used to it? Do we evolve to be a different species? I'm genuinely concerned for humanity, you guys.
Why do data centers need clean water? Why is it raising my electricity bill? It's come to my attention a lot of people don't actually know how data centers work. So let me explain to you top down how this is affecting you, the environment, and your wallet. For starters, you need to know that the internet is not something that's invisible, like a cloud that's floating in the air. Every single message you send on Facebook, every Google search, every generative AI slop picture you make has a tangible physical server that is in a warehouse that's called a data center. And this is what it looks like inside of a data center. It is a bunch of server blocks that are stacked on top of another that have CPUs, GPUs, TPUs, any sort of computer processing unit that accounts for you sending your Facebook message to your granny to make sure that she's okay every now and then. Here's where the water comes in. If you know anything about computers, maybe even your PS5, you've noticed, has gotten really hot and it starts to not work well. It's the same with computers and processing units and servers. Essentially, these data centers, they run 24/7, 365, put out an immense amount of energy and heat. And all that heat needs to be cooled down, which accounts for insane amount of HVAC, air conditioning, and water coolants. Essentially, they cool these units with cold water, and it has to be clean water. They'll cool them via tubing through the actual servers. They'll use a flat plate and inject it with clean water and cold water, or sometimes data centers will even submerge these servers into water, and it has to be clean. You can't take lake or ocean water and run that through servers or submerge servers in that because A, they could be corrosive, or B, they could have contaminants like algae, other foreign material, and it will cause those servers to physically deteriorate. It will make those servers not work. It will break them. So it has to be clean and treated. And a lot of people don't know this, but they treat this water with a lot of chemicals, biocides, and a lot of these companies will dump those chemical materials into the environment. And here's why AI data centers are raising your electricity bill. There was a difference before between social media data centers or regular infrastructure data centers that we have been using for years and years. AI is a whole other industry that we have implanted into our infrastructure. It is essentially adding hundreds more data centers for this new industry. And this is why your electricity bill is higher, because these centers put out so much demand for electricity, which these towns are not equipped to handle. The electricity company has to build new power stations, new transformers, new electricity lines. They have to do all of this physical infrastructure just to meet the demands of this data center. And that in turn goes back to your electricity bill. They need to pay for it somehow, which in turn they will just charge the customers more. So let's recap. It has to be your clean drinking water or the poor servers will be hurt. Our energy infrastructure is not ready for this brand new industry, and those chemical pollutants are in the environment, and the heat put off from these data centers is hurting the environment. All in all, I hope this helps you better understand why specifically this is not going to be good for us.
Hey, what's up, America? Why are so many data centers being built in America? Why is there such urgency to build data centers? I mean, I've never seen anything like it. An entire society breaking their neck to build data centers at lightning speed. We've been asking the federal government to build high-speed rail networks nationwide, not a peep from them. We've been asking the federal government to help feed the poor, not a dollar. But when it comes to data centers, we have World War II level movement from the government. So what could possibly be the urgency to build so many data centers? Why? Why are they doing this? Well, I think you know why they're doing it. They openly say it. It's to build a nationwide surveillance and monitoring network of the American people. You. Every click, every conversation, every turn of the wheel of your vehicle will be monitored and put into a data center for processing. Oh, it's true. They're trying to train AI robotics to better your world, don't get me wrong, but a majority of these data centers are nothing but monitoring and surveillance tool systems. This will be used for nothing more than a nationwide policing tool against your behavior. Oh, and don't forget to target ads at you so you can buy shit. Oh yeah, that's part of it too. Huge advertising networks going into this also. So when I looked into the reasons as to why they're building these data centers at such a fast pace, this is what I got. Quote, hyperscale data centers are used for pervasive monitoring, predictive policing, and economic control of the American population, particularly once currency is digitized. They're saying digitization of currency will be publicly pursued for efficiency, anti-fraud, and, here we go, inclusion monitoring of finances. Meaning every purchase, transfer, or earning event will be logged with metadata as to who, where, and what happened. And when it comes to policing, algorithms flag, quote, suspicious patterns, such as suspicious travel to certain locations, can trigger automatic holds and alerts to police. And of course, here's the worst part, as if the other one wasn't. Funds can be restricted to specific users, people can be geo-fenced, time-limited, or have their rights or finances revoked based on compliance scores. Yes, compliance scores, social credit, both for your behavior, your finance, and monitoring where you go and what you do. Now, several of these companies that are building data centers say basically if you're doing nothing wrong, you don't have to worry. And that these low compliance scores will only be enacted on bad actors. So what's considered a bad actor? What's considered a bad actor when Democrats or progressives take over and they add hate speech to this? Or if Republicans do something with monitoring the poor? You see, politicians will also add their own unique flavor to these data centers. So when Democrats take over, you're going to have a compliance score as to your speech, monitoring you for hate and offense. And when Republicans take over, if you're not efficient enough or working hard enough, they'll penalize you for that too. And since eventually one of these days with these systems, your currency will probably be digitized, they'll use that as a tool of your compliance. Yeah, I bet you'll be shutting the f up and not protesting the government when they withhold your funds from you. You know, for your safety, right? Yeah, it's for your safety, of course. So make no mistake, this is not happening for convenience or to make your life easier. These systems are being built and integrated for your compliance and monitoring you. And that's just the government. Companies are going to be using these systems as well in order to perfectly target your behavior to sell to you. And you might be thinking, well, they're not going to get away with that. Bitch, they already have. They already did. They're doing it right now, and you are not fighting it enough. because you're worried about your freedom and law. Oh no! Did they give a f about your freedoms and laws when they made systems to monitor everything you do? No, of course not. So why do you give a shit about the laws they put on paper for you at this point?
I don't like humming and buzzing in my ears. Do you think animals would?
A community is rallying together to push back against plans to build a data center near the Nashville Zoo.
I can currently hear the monkeys from my backyard. Would love that to continue. I mean, we're crying for help. We need this protection.
The zoo says the noise and light from the facility would, quote, dramatically affect animal behavior and be detrimental to conservation efforts, especially for its endangered clouded leopards. In a social media post, the zoo says it's filed a zoning appeal to overturn the permits approved for the project. The controversy has gained the attention of country musician Brad Paisley. He posted a video on social media encouraging people to sign a petition against the data center.
It doesn't belong there. It would be an enormous monstrosity, an absolute eyesore, and detract in every way from not only the zoo but that area.
DC Blocks, the AI company behind the facility, told CNN affiliate WTVF it has plans in place to alleviate the community's concerns, including measures to limit sound, water usage, and electricity. After hours of public comment, the Planning Commission postponed a vote to restrict such data centers until its next meeting on June 25th.
What we are watching is a massive transfer of resources from local communities to tech giants. Companies are quietly draining millions of gallons of drinking water during extreme droughts, bypassing environmental protections, and pushing local power grids to the breaking point. When a local grid gets overwhelmed by a hyperscale facility, the utility companies pass the upgrade costs directly onto your monthly bill. And when they need more land, public utilities use eminent domain to bulldoze family homes. The tech industry is treating middle-class towns as extraction zones for their server farms. They get the infrastructure and the profits, while residents are left with deafening industrial noise, compromised water supplies, and forced relocations. It is a clear picture of a system that prioritizes corporate growth over the basic living conditions of everyday Americans. Have you noticed new industrial construction or unexplained spikes in your utility bills in your area? Let me know what you are seeing in your own town in the comments below, so we can track where this is happening next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.